Eerie horizons.
Let those who enter from here leave their hope behind.
This word is written at the entrance of the world's largest underground city. But this is not the city of people, but the city of the dead. The city of the dead under Paris is so big that it has an area as big as the city of Paris itself. And there are thousands of people who are so confused that they can't get in and trace them again. Another dimension, in the forbidden sections that can be entered through small holes, many secret sects often perform rituals. In fact, the story of this cemetery dates back to the 1700s. In those days, there was no place in the cemeteries around Paris, and they were starting to spread disease around. For this reason, with the order of the French king, a tunnel used as a stone stove in the past, the bones in these graves began to be placed one by one. While the king was building this city of the dead, it is also said that he had many treasures and traps made with encrypted passages. So there are rooms made up of narrow water tunnels inside. In fact, you have to hold your breath for minutes wherever some graves are, and you have to go under the pools. This underground city it has a length of 250 kilometers. However, the section that is open to view now is a small place of 2 kilometers. This place was forgotten at the end of the Second World War, and almost all entrances were closed. It was as if it never existed. However, in those years, a worker sitting on the basement floor dug the foundation of the house in order to renew the floor by getting closer to the small house. The thing in front of him was furrowing. There was a small hole that was impossible for even a human body to fit in. When he looked inside with a flashlight, he saw that the hole was going down meters deep with a ladder. The reappearance of the city of the dead was like this. 3 times the population of Paris, that is exactly 6 million dead, were carefully placed in strange shapes and symbols. With bones and cross marks everywhere, the stars are not yet known what they mean, but the writings, which are thought to be a set of passwords, are often seen. It may even have a more complex tunnel than the pyramids. Listen carefully to this event that happened in order to be able to visualize how complicated it could be and its mystery in your mind. In the 1990s, an apartment in Paris, it collapsed within 70 meters of the ground with noise. When more than 100 people were stuck in the underground city with the migratory that came to the scene, 50 volunteers and search and rescue workers entered. Neither those who lived in the apartment nor those who entered to save them could even find the traces of any of the 50 officers. It is not known what happened to them. In fact, there are many underground graves like this in Europe, and they are called catacombs. However, this catacomb in Paris is hundreds of times larger than others and carries different purposes. Outside the 2-kilometer area opened by the state for tourism, there is no natural permission to enter here. But people have opened small, narrow holes in different parts of the city of Paris. Since it has both narrow and 250-kilometer vast area, the police do not interfere. For this reason, many strange sects have settled in the underground city. At any moment, you can encounter groups of people who make superstitions, worship the devil, or sacrifice in the real sense. Some of them have not left there for 20, 30 years. The walls where the entrance is forbidden are full of written and symbols written in blood. At the same time, hundreds of people living in the city of the dead do not want to follow the world order. If you disappear according to what they tell you, no one can find you. For decades, you may have to look for your way without hearing or seeing anyone, but all the efforts are in vain. No matter how hard you try when you disappear inside, you will only find yourself in a deeper and more complex paradox. At the same time, do not forget that it is dark below, and it is possible to encounter the bodies of many people who have lost their way and died. 7 French young people who had previously set off from an old map they had found had followed the treasure they thought was in the city of the dead. The story of those young people ended with an instructive note. In fact, each of them was a professional caveman. In other words, they had training and even experience to find their way through narrow passages and complex tunnels. However, exactly a year after entering the cave, the members of a sect living there had a coincidental body. When they were found, the 7 of them turned into bones in a hug, and they left a note. I convey to you exactly what is written in the note. We found an old and great sarcophagus. When we look inside sarcophagus, there were symbols carved on the board in the body, and unknown languages that could belong to a king. We were about to get out of it, but the door of the room we entered was closed by a giant rock falling from above. Since there was no way out, we dived into the deep water channel behind the sarcophagus and went to another section. There was a piano sound constantly in our ears and footsteps of someone walking near us. When we followed the sounds, we found a room covered with dust and a very old piano. We do not know when and who brought it from such narrow passages. This is the last place we can go. The batteries of our helmet lights are about to run out. I think we have no way out of here now. No one should come to the city of the dead for the purpose of finding something, as it is written at the entrance.
Let those who enter from here leave their hope behind.
Note ends with the names of these 7 French young people. This interesting event that happened was changed a little and recently turned into a movie. The name of the movie is Deep Chaos. There are many pools and water reservoirs inside. However, these pools were not made for pleasure. According to what has been told, the graves were built knowingly to make it difficult for the old French kings and sorcerers to go to the places where they slept. Pools can sometimes be tens of meters deep, and the scary part of the job is that you have to dive into the bottom of these pools for minutes to move forward. There are many trapped areas. Sometimes the tunnels are so narrow that you have to rush to move forward. At this time, it is impossible to move a trapped rock from the place, and the mechanisms that make the entrance and exit of the tunnel you find work. Because of the mollusks falling from above, it is impossible to return or move forward. Now, the sects living in the city of the dead and other people, they find their way with the experiences of the deaths that have been experienced so far, and none of them pass through the paths they have not passed before, because the only step to be taken indecisively is not to find your way again or to be caught in one of the traps. Sometimes so wide sections come to you that dozens of apartments can fit comfortably. People living inside must leave their own signatures with spray paints. This makes it easy for them to find their way. We said that the tunnels are pitch black. Since continuous use of lights requires too much battery, usually the sects illuminate the rooms. They make a hymn with candles. In the hymns, the bones of an important sorcerer in history or a famous name are used. One of the strangest secrets about the city of the dead is what a member of the sect who has spent 30 years inside says. According to what he told, some important names from all over the world for 7 years in the city of the dead, by using a path that no one knows, they perform a ritual in the deep, in the temple of the devil. If I were to say who these names are, a member of the sect who has seen a few of the coincidences, I'm sure they'll kill me and everyone who lives here. But I know it's a pagan ritual here. As you know, in history, the Vikings descended from the north, all of Europe, a part of Russia, even some of the countries in North Africa. They had a pagan belief. According to that belief, they gather every 7 years and make their most important rituals. And they were sacrificing 7 people in this conspiracy. I wonder if this or a similar strange belief is still going on among some important people in the world today. If so, the most hidden and frightening place to be made a conspiracy will definitely be the city of the dead under Paris, with a vast size of 250 kilometers and a strange network system like the Egyptian pyramids. Where could it be better to continue a secret belief? Maybe even while this place is being built, a temple was built in the depths for such a purpose, and only a group of people who continue an old belief and are the rulers of some countries today know the way to this temple. Or why are 6 million people's bones lined up in strange languages? And if this is just a cemetery, why is it full of traps everywhere? Sometimes certain areas of the city of the dead were also used as stone stoves. However, according to belief, the stone stove was just a shield, and the real purpose was to complete the missing parts in the construction of the underground city, and maybe to renew the traps that had aged for centuries. Already in 1955, the sections used for mining were also closed, and in French history, the donations that were not given to anyone were given to a small number of workers here. And perhaps the reason for such high donations is the number of people. Indeed, in 1955, none of the workers who left the fire and retired did not enter into a detailed explanation of their working days. Do not forget the mystery of the summer at the entrance to the city of the dead.
Let those who enter from here leave their hope behind.
The word was taken from Dante's work called Divine Comedy. According to the work called Divine Comedy, these words are written at the entrance of hell. So why should the sentences thought to be written at the entrance of hell be written at the door of the grave? According to the Christian belief, in order for the souls of the dead to come to peace, there should have been references to heaven. Although there are references from the Bible in some places of the city of the dead, but most of them are interestingly unrelated references, and some of them have been used for symbolic purposes. In fact, instead of the prophet Jesus, the words of Satan, and the frightening speeches of Jesus with the evil spirits in the desert, some of them are written in Aramaic, which is known to be an old and powerful magic language. If one day your way falls to Paris, I definitely recommend you see the world of the dead. But know that professional guides will only allow you to travel in a 2-kilometer place. Some French young people illegally travel to unknown regions of the world of the dead